Hello, my name is Mayira. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how I became a birth worker, first a doula, and then more recently working as a beginner midwife and a student midwife, and what it is that I believe about birth and women. And yeah, so I guess my journey as a mother has contributed a lot to how I feel about birth and why I want to create a community of support for mothers, a virtual community. Um, I gave birth for the first time when I was 22. I had always been fascinated by babies, especially when I was a child and witnessing my mother bringing babies home and the way she loved babies and was fascinated by them. So I was especially in love with my youngest brothers, my youngest siblings, and I was just crazy about them. And I believe I wanted to eat them. So this was my fascination, I guess, with babies. So I was very happy to become a mother when I was 22. This was a very desired baby, but I did come into the birth space with a naive attitude, just thinking that, well, my mother has done it, my grandmother has done it, I'm going to do it. It's going to be a piece of cake. And it turned out that it was long, that I needed, interventions, and I didn't really understand why. It took me years to understand what happened. Then, by the time I was ready to give birth for the second time 7 years later, I was back in Brazil. The first birth had happened here in the US, and I was back in Brazil, and this is 12 years ago. And I did give birth unmedicated. I did feel very, the hormones of birth and the joy and the ecstasy and all that. However, I still chose at that time to give birth in a hospital. And that experience left me with some trauma. And you can hear all about my birth stories in the Birth Warrior podcast, a production of the Indie Birth Association. I was interviewed recently, and I share all my birth stories there. But just fast forward, where when I was pregnant with my third child, I knew already in my body that, I need to be, in my body, calm, and just trust myself, trust my baby. Everything's gonna be all right. I want a midwife, and I want to give birth at home. So I found a midwife, and my mentor, who was a doula, then has become a traditional midwife, was also my doula slash midwife at the time. And it was a beautiful, transformational, amazing birth. And then for the fourth baby, I didn't have to think about it. I just had my baby at home. And those experiences, I guess all of them together, being in a hospital, then being at home to give birth, and being in touch with my feelings more, understanding more myself as an adult, and how this played a part in my mothering journey, and how it was unfolding for me, and how I was, dealing with my own children and all that. This is what paved the way for me into birth work, because we moved to Malaysia in 2014. Then, about a year later, I met some women who were pregnant, and I offered them some prenatal yoga classes. And that's how I started, being invited into births as a doula. And because women trusted me, and I was like, yeah, maybe I can support them. Maybe there's something here that I can do. And this is how I got into birth work. Then I decided to study birth physiology and everything, certified as a doula. Then did a course in Bali with Ibu Robin Lim and Bumi Sehat, which was amazing. And I started, learning about birth keeping and placentas and all the things. And I was just really completely in love with, this sacred birth work. Very early, I realized that being a doula in an institution was not for me, and also most probably because I had had the experience in my own body to give birth in my own authority, and not having anybody tell me what to do, or So I felt it was very natural for me that I wanted to serve women in home birth settings, and that I wanted to work with women who were taking responsibility for their own paths as women and as mothers. So eventually I ran into Indie Birth and their amazing podcast archive, and I just started, like trying to learn as much as I could. I fell in love with Marin Green, and as you know, when I learned Marin and Margot Blackstone had a midwifery school, I was like, this is the school for me. How is this going to happen? I don't know. How am I going to become a midwife? I don't know. But this is the path for me. Then eventually, my husband got transferred to the US, and we ended up in Los Angeles. And we've been here for almost a year now. And I've recently started working again. And my intention is to create a circle of mothers in a virtual space. I had a very beautiful experience in Malaysia as a facilitator for mother circles and women's circles, and learning all about the divine feminine and, finding our own inner guidance. And this is my intention, to support women to find their own inner guidance in life, in birth, because I believe we give birth the way we live. And my choices in birth are not different from my choices in life. And the more conscious I am as a mother, as a woman, the better, if I can use this judgment, if because there is no right or wrong way of doing things. There is no right or wrong way of giving birth or mothering or anything. But it's just that I believe that we are here to become better human beings. And for me, it all starts in birth. So I choose to be a traditional midwife, and this is my path. And I'm so happy that you're here and that you're listening to me. Come join us.